Hey, it's Vas here from Aussie Playground, and welcome to the first episode of a new mini-series I'm going to be putting together of this new CEN Reaper. And no, you are not seeing double. I actually have two of these Reapers in the studio at the moment. The one in the background is my ready to run, which I've already unboxed, done several running videos on, and of course reviewed as well. If you haven't seen any of those videos, don't stress, there's links down below to all of those videos, so you can feel free to go check them out in your own time. And you can see how the ready-to-run version actually performs. However, this one here is a little bit special. This is kind of a special edition Reaper, and it's going to be a little bit crazy. It's going to be fully customized, and I'm hoping that you guys enjoy this one because, yeah, what I've got planned for this truck is pretty crazy. So we'll see how we go. Now, why get a second Reaper? Well, because CEN are releasing a bunch of upgrades for these trucks under the Chaos name brand. So Chaos will have a bunch of different upgrades for these, and of course you can purchase whichever ones you want. I'm going to be using this second truck to show off a lot of these upgrades, and this one already comes with a couple of them pre-installed, which I'm going to be running you through very soon. So let's get stuck into it. As you can see, it comes with another green body. Now the one up the top, I've already bashed the snot out of it. It's all scratched up, it's got a couple of dings, and I'm not going to wreck this second one. These green bodies are actually a little bit hard to come by, and you know, although I kind of used the green body just to be different, this second one I'm going to keep in pristine condition. I'm not going to wreck it. So this will be the body that I will use to put on that truck when I've got it on the shelf and I want to show it off and make it look all nice and pretty. That's the one that's going to go on there. So you might be wondering, well, what body am I going to have on this truck? Well, when it comes to kind of just keeping it on the shelf and keeping it nice and clean, I'm going to use this one. This is the stock ready to run body. So now I have one brand spanking new one and one green one, and now I've got one brand spanking red one as well. So that's not going to be the bash body either. So what am I going to use for a bash body? Well, this guy, clear one. I'm going to be painting up a custom paint job for this one, and well, I'm going to keep it fairly simple. I'm going to use a little bit of red because the reason for that is because I'm actually going to be having some red springs on here, and I guess we'll start off with that. So I've got some red springs here, which are the same as these green ones. Now these are not the standard springs that you get with the ready-to-run version. I'm getting my words all tongue-tied here. Let me show you the differences. This is the ready-to-run spring that I got with the Reaper. This is the optional spring that I ran when CEN sent out these springs that they were a little bit taller. However, there's more coils in these springs, and these are actually softer than the stock ready-to-run spring. These springs, if I can get one of them out here, they're still in the plastic bag, are considerably longer than the stock ready-to-run spring. If I can line it up, look at the length difference there. They're also about the same spring rate as the ready-to-run, but they do feel quite a bit stiffer because they are stretched out a little bit. These are a stiffer spring and they're also longer, so this should help for big jumps and big bashing. These are the springs that I'm going to be using on this truck. The green springs that are on here are exactly the same as these, but I'm going to be putting the green ones on the basher truck up there, the ready to run, and putting the red ones in this one because I want to have the show red body on here and I want the springs to match, and hopefully you get the idea. So that's that. So I'll pop those aside, hopefully they don't fall down. Hang on, let me just put that there. There we go. All right, so I've also got some red battery straps that they've sent over to me, so good on CEN for sending those because that's going to match with this truck. One side note as well, there are some 17mm hex adapters available for these trucks. So they've sent out a set of these. I don't know if I'm going to use them, but I may use them in the future should I want to sort of try out some new wheels and just see how they work on these trucks. So these are 17mm hex adapters if you want to swap out the stock. I think the stock ones are 23mm, I think, from memory. Anyway, moving on, another thing that I'm going to be changing out on this truck is going to be the battery tray. So the battery tray comes flat packed like that. I've also got some extra battery straps in here. And here's one I prepared earlier with the battery already installed on it. This is an adjustable battery tray. So that is the difference here. So you can see that you've got adjustments on the side and you can actually adjust the width of the actual tray itself, which is something that you can't do on the Ready to Run. This particular truck already has the Ready to Run tray in there, and it's set to a particular width. So when you're using two 3S batteries, usually 3S batteries tend to be a little bit thicker, a little bit chunkier than your standard 2S packs, and you're putting them side by side, they don't fit on the tray. So I've seen a lot of people actually stacking their batteries on top of each other, sometimes even with the Velcro strip in between, just so they don't slide around. Well, hopefully that will eliminate the need for you to do that, and of course will secure the batteries in the tray a lot better if you've got them side by side. So good on CEN for doing that. I think that's a big plus. Hopefully in the future they may even include those battery trays as a stock item or standard item on the Ready to Runs. Now, another thing that is different on this truck is of course the chassis, which you can see there is carbon fiber. So carbon fiber chassis obviously is a little bit stiffer than your aluminium chassis that it comes with on the Ready to Run. It's also a bit lighter. However, the motor that I've chosen for this truck is kind of going to counteract that because the motor is quite big. It's not a 5th scale motor, and I'm not going to reveal what motor it is at this stage. You are going to have to wait for the second episode for me to reveal all the electrics I'm going to be putting on this truck. There is an ESC that they've supplied with this truck for the moment. Now, after choosing my servo and of course the motor that I decided to put in here, I've decided that the stock ESC is probably not the best option to run those electrics. So I'm going to be swapping out that ESC. I've got already an ESC here at home that I will be replacing that with. And of course I'll reveal that in the next video. And hopefully we'll get some good performance out of the motor and the steering servo, because the steering servo runs on 7.4 volts. The BEC on these ESCs, these stock ones, are only set at 6 volts, so that's why I kind of need to swap it over. Also, I think the other ESC will have a lot more options, which will allow me to tune it a lot better, and hopefully will run the motor that I've chosen a lot better as well. They did supply me with a stock steering servo. I don't remember asking for the stock steering servo to be supplied, but they've given me an extra one. And hey, you can never have too many steering servos, I think, especially considering the amount of cars that I test out. Sometimes they blow, sometimes they're a bit too weak. I can always keep these as spares and use them in some of the lower end cars that don't require such a torquey servo, I suppose. Another addition to this one are the wheel nuts that they've supplied here. So I'll spin this around so you can see it correctly there. Hopefully the camera will do a good job of focusing in on this. So these are really nice wheel nuts that they've included with this particular truck. I don't think these come as standard. You will need to get these separately. But that is a really nice addition, really completes the truck, and they look very, very nice. Just jumping back onto the shocks just briefly. The shocks have been rebuilt. They do have new oil in them, and CEN have actually taken note of the, sorry, that's the steering assembly for the servo, because you can see that there's no connection to the servo at the moment. But the shocks have been rebuilt, and CEN have actually sent out to several of their customers these little O-ring rebuild kits for their shocks, because, well, one of the complaints that I had about the original Ready to Run shocks was that they leaked quite a bit. And of course CEN have taken note of that, and I think all the new Ready to Runs should have non-leaky shocks. They should be rebuilt with these kits, hopefully. And if you do have a Reaper that you find that the shocks are leaking, be sure to contact them, or contact the hobby shop or the hobby store that you bought them from, and hopefully you'll get your hands on one of these. If not, you need to probably purchase them yourself, but they're pretty cheap, and you know, usually these sorts of things, they only cost a few bucks. You can rebuild your entire shocks, and then that way you have no more leaky shocks. Another thing that they've changed on the shocks as well is just here, and I'm hoping that the light can pick this up, if my camera can focus. There it is. So you can see that there's a washer there now, where on the Ready to Run there was no washer here, and that was one of the first mods that I did on my Ready to Run Reaper, because I'd heard that these shock eyelids will actually pop out as you're running the truck. So you get a bit of an awkward landing or whatever, there's things kind of twist and they pop out. So CEN have obviously listened to that feedback, they've paid attention, and now these shocks come standard with those little washers to stop the shock rod ends popping out from the shock ball ends. Hopefully, I think that's what they're called. Hopefully I got all those terms right. But yeah, that's a good thing that they've actually included that on there. Fantastic to see. And of course, lastly, you can see that I've got the pin tires pre-installed on this truck. So as I said, this is a bit of a special edition. This is not the new standard for the Ready to Run, so please do not get this confused. This truck has been sent to me specifically to test out these parts and any future parts that Chaos kind of release or CEN release under the Chaos brand. That's the idea with this one. And of course the motor, the ESC and the steering servo, they're all going to be different from the stock ready to run version. That's why I'm going to be painting up a new body so that it looks completely different, and I'm going to be testing out these parts and putting them to their limit. The motor, ESC and steering servo combo that I've chosen should put this truck just right up there. It's going to make that one look like a really sort of standard, like run-of-the-mill truck. This is going to put any truck in its class to absolute shame. The motor is capable of running on 8S, but I don't think I'm going to go that far. I want to run it basically just on 6S, and I want it to be completely ballistic. Oh, and one last thing. I almost forgot. The wheelie bar. The wheelie bar has also been pre-installed on this particular truck. This is a beautifully designed, very sturdy, very stout wheelie bar. This, as I understand it, is a standard, an optional part that you can purchase for your Reaper. If that wheelie bar holds up to my punishment for what I have in mind, this will be an absolute must for anybody to sort of have in their arsenal if they've got a Reaper. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to putting the electrics in here. The electrics, of course, I actually had to get them myself. So they were not donated or supplied by anybody. I actually went out and got them myself because I had a specific setup in mind. And of course, a lot of that was due or thank you to my Patreon supporters who have chipped in, and you know, the funds that I've received from that have gone straight into this project, and I could not be more thankful. So thank you all of you who have supported me through Patreon. If you haven't done that and you want to, please be sure to check out the video description. I'll have links in there for that. And of course, I'll have links to my Facebook page, and as I said, the previous videos that I've done with the Ready to Run if you want to check that out. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you're new, please be sure to subscribe and click that little bell so that way you are up to date with all the episodes that I've got coming up on the Reaper, as well as various other videos up on my channel that I'll be doing on various other products. Hopefully you guys can stick around. I really do enjoy your comments as well, so if you have any questions about anything that I'm doing here or any of the parts or components that you've seen, perhaps I've missed something that you want to talk about, please be sure to leave a comment down below. I do my best to answer a lot of comments out there. I know that sometimes I don't reply to all of them or I don't have time, but please rest assured that I do read all of them, and I appreciate the time that you all take to leave a little comment, no matter how big or how small. And of course, I do appreciate all the likes. So with that, I will leave this video here. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will speak to you next time.